Okay, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg on another Sunday or Monday or Tuesday or whatever it is that you watch this. For me, it's Sunday, although it feels like Saturday because tomorrow's Memorial Day. But anyways, let's get into it. First off, let me talk about the big topic, because I'm sure plenty of people have already clicked on the straw poll in the description of the video, so I might as well talk about that right away. So the question posed in the straw poll is, would you support a Mangcast? Now, I don't mean would you rally behind the concept of a Mangcast? Do you want a Mangcast? That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, perhaps a bit awkwardly, would you financially support a Mangcast? Now hold on, hear me out. The idea came to me because Epic Namebro recently started his own podcast called Epic Podcast Bro, which was good. I like that. And he went to Patreon. To kind of get support for his podcast, and he's gotten quite a bit of it. He's gotten plenty of support. Now, I'm not saying I'm anywhere near Epic Namebro, nor do I ever expect to be, but I was like, that's a pretty good idea, because I've heard of Patreon before, and I guess Patreon is basically like Kickstarter, except it can be about anything, really, and the payments, like, it's not like a one-time payment, unless somebody wants it to be, I think. You can set it up so it's a monthly thing that just every month people just pay you money for doing something. Spoonie from, Spoonie Experiment, he has a Patreon going on for his website now, of which he basically whores. He basically steals money from people because he doesn't put out any videos and he just collects money. But anyways, he's got a lot of people on there that just every month pay him money, and he promised that he would put out videos every month, a certain regiment that he would do. And that's just how it would be. And so, because he gets paid for it, there's like, you can do in like stretch goals and stuff, like if you have a certain amount of money supporters every month or something like that, he was supposed to like start work on a movie. I doubt that will ever happen, but okay. I did not support his Patreon, let me just say that right away. So you can set it up every month, or I think you can set up to different ways, because Epic Namebro does it where he has the money come out every podcast that he uploads. So every time he goes on there and that was cool. And he says that he's uploaded a podcast, money comes out from everybody that supports it. And you can sign up to be just for $1 a month, or $1 per podcast, whatever, or you could do 50, you could do however you want to support it. So I've, of course, heard of Patreon before, but I was like, when Epic Namebro did it, I was like, this is a good idea. And I've had a podcast. Some of you may remember it. It was called the Mangcast. And the Mangcast consisted of me talking. It was about an hour-long show where I talked about game news and stuff like that, relevant things, and then movie news and maybe a review and blah, blah, blah. And I think people liked it. I think people mostly enjoyed it. A couple of the Mangcast episodes are like some of my most viewed videos. I don't know how that happened, but so it is. And so it was going good for a couple months when I was doing the Mangcast, until I got busted for apparently using a still image, promotional image from the movie Getaway, of which I was the only person that enjoyed it. But now I kind of boycott that movie because they are dicks about it. And so the Mangcast came to a screeching halt because I had to like switch channels. It was just a nightmare for like 6 months after that. It was horrible. And so the Mangcast never continued. So then the new Mangcast would just be a regular podcast. It would just be audio. It would go on like iTunes or, however. I'd have to look at how people do podcasts nowadays. I have no idea. But it would basically be the same format. I'd talk about game news, and then I'd talk about movie news, and it would just be my candid, live impressions of just whatever the hell I needed to talk about. And so here's the thing. The Mangcast is, I mean, it's something that I would have to do. It would be like a weekly thing. I'd have to do it every week. It would take up time. And I'd have to do, I'd have to do research, you know, things like that. Things would have to happen. There's work involved. It's not just like this where I just get to sit down and play a game and chat while I do it. You know, there's more. It's not something I have to go out of my way to do it, you know. And so it's something that I wouldn't do just on my own. Like, I wouldn't do this, you know, I wouldn't put out this product just on my own, volition, just for your guys' enjoyment, like I do most of my stuff. But if there was incentive, I guess, if I knew that people really wanted this, and they didn't just say, "Man, I want this," like they actually put their money where their mouth was, I guess, and they really wanted to support it, and I was getting, I guess, compensated, then I'd be like, all right, this is actually like, this is something that I am going to put my time and effort into, you know. It would still be free. It wouldn't be like pay-per-view or anything like that. Like, it would be available for anyone, but some people would have to actually support it. And I don't mean that to be like a dick. Like, I don't want to really come off like that. It's just, you know, it's fine if, you know, no people decide that they don't want it. I'm okay with not doing it. Clearly. But if people do want to support it, then it can be made to happen, you know. So, you guys, the people that are listening to this video, listening to me right now, you guys are pretty much like my most loyal, trusted viewers. Like, I really listen to what you guys have to say. I really do. And so, let me know everything that you think about what I've discussed here. I really want to hear it. I mean, yes, I want you to vote in the straw poll, because that takes like 3 clicks. And I expect, you know, plenty of people to do that. But, you know, if you're the type of person that comments, let me hear a comment. You know, let me hear a comment about if you think it's a good idea, if you think I'm a dick for trying to get money for some shitty product, if you think that a Patreon should do like a monthly thing or per podcast. Like, I don't know how often Epic Name Bro expects to put out episodes, but I was planning once a week, like Saturday or something. So, I don't know. I don't know anything, and I need some feedback here, guys. I need it.
Wouldn't mind a few rounds of cards.
And I guess that's everything I really needed to say about that. I mean, obviously I'd like it to come together where it's kind of a mutual thing. People want to support it, and I want to put it out, and then there it is, and people enjoy it, and we keep on going our merry way. Obviously I want that to happen, but, you know, if people tell me, like, you know, if the straw poll comes out that, you know, most people wouldn't really pay money for anything that I do, then okay, I completely understand. Don't get me wrong, but I can go really either way with the whole thing. So yeah, let me know what you think. Yeah, anyways. I think that's all I had to say about the Mangcast. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the channel itself then. So this week, of course, The Witcher 3 came out, which I've been playing, and a bunch of you have been watching. And, I'm really happy. I'm really happy that the game is enjoyable. Like, you know, ignoring everything else, The game is enjoyable, and that's just good. That's just good. Because that's what I was really worried about. Because in the old days, I didn't really worry about that much. It was just like, oh, it's a game, I'll play it, sure. But nowadays, after stuff like Dragon Age and things like that, I gotta question some stuff. So the game's really good. I've been enjoying it. I put out 4 videos so far. I lost 2 videos. So that's like, I've played for probably about 10 hours total. And it's been good. It's been an enjoyable game. So that's been going on. Invisible Ink. I don't know if did I put out an Invisible Ink video? Probably not. Probably not. Maybe I did. Maybe I did. Oh, that was a smart pass. There'll probably be another Invisible Ink game video coming out because that's it's just a good game. It's just a good game. Dex, I don't know about that. I don't think anybody really cares if I continue that or not, especially me. Like that second video, that just I kind of had a little bit of hope. Because I felt like I played during the first video, I felt like I played longer than I normally would for a first video, but I was like, it's kind of weird, but maybe it'll get really good really soon. But it didn't really, and then I was like, alright, I'm still going to give it a good try here for the second one, but that second one, losing saves, I saved, you saw me save! Oh man, that was so, ugh. Yeah, that was just bullshit. Just bullshit. So I don't know if anything will come of that. But I don't think anyone's heartbroken. What else? I didn't put out a Duelist video, and that's kind of surprising because they did bring out a fairly large patch. There was another soft wipe, actually. There was another soft wipe, so everything got reset, really. And that's kind of exciting. I could have opened all sorts of new booster packs and, you know, all kinds of stuff like that, and I didn't. And I don't know, I was just Witcher really ate up my time. I was busy. The weekend was kind of crazy. I just didn't get around to it, but there will be more Duelist at some point. At some point. Yeah, that's kind of it, I guess. There's going to be more Witcher, maybe Invisible Ink, maybe Duelist. That's kind of the plan for the week. Let's talk about role manging, shall we? Because that's been absent for a little while. There is some unfortunate news, I guess. Unfortunate for some people. Call of Cthulhu Horror on the Orient Express is probably done for now. And that's for a couple reasons. One is kind of attendance, I guess. The original plan, a while back, the original plan for
take a peek if you don't mind.
For Horror on the Orient Express was going to be like 6 of us or something like that. There was going to be a large group that we had, new people, that chick that was kind of crazy. You know, it was going to be a crazy group. And then shit happened, and we lost a couple. And then the other girl who's playing Allie Shaw, she pretty much just disappeared. We have no idea what happened to her, which is unfortunate. Just dropping off the face of the planet. That's not good. And then, like, May, like, the month of May, Ziggy graduated with his master's degree, and he was moving into his new house, so it's just, like, all these weekends that he's just missing, and then he's got, like, into June, like, all of June, he's got, like, bachelor parties, and he's out of town, and just, he was gonna miss so many sessions, and, for a while, Ren was, like, drastically ill, And so he missed some sessions, and it's just like, you have all this, and stuff like that. If this stuff like happens in like a long-running D&D campaign, it can survive that, you know? You can just be like, because you can come back to that, and people are like, where were we? And it's just like, oh, you were attacking these orcs in this cave. And people are like, oh yeah, you're right. And then you just keep going. But in an actual Call of Cthulhu game, like a long-running campaign where you have clues and you need to keep track of things, it's just like, So that was half of it. The other half of it was, I guess, to a lesser degree, I wasn't that impressed with Horror on the Orient Express. It didn't grab me as much as Mask of Nyarlathotep did. Masks is the greatest campaign ever, in my opinion. Like, nothing's gonna top that. And I'm not like... I'm not saying that, like, oh, nothing beats Mask. It's impossible. I'm just setting the standard. Like, things need to live up to Mask's standard to me now. And I don't think anything really is going to. It's possible. I'm leaving it open, but I don't think Horror does it. There was, and I mentioned that during Seeker's Roaming and stuff like that, where it's just like, this just seems odd, and why did they write it like this, and this just seems confusing, and, you know, there was too many holes, and it just didn't really work as well as, you know, it could have. So, yeah, it's probably coming to an end, which is alright, because I love playing so much more than I do DMing. I mean, even Call of Cthulhu, which is the one thing I guess I would DM, I still just like playing instead of DM.
Look, maybe pick something.
So Ziggy is planning a D&D campaign, 4th edition, as I mentioned a while back. And that's probably going to happen towards the end of June, for reasons that I talked about. And so between now and then, I really don't know what's going to happen. Like, there might be nothing. There might just be no RPGing at all between now and the end of June, which kind of sucks, really, to go that long without anything. I mean, I have board games, so that fills the gap at least a little bit, but it's kind of a bummer. But then, I know I had discussed GURPS. I had discussed GURPS, but it just seems intimidating to me. I don't know if I could even run a one-shot with it. And that's a lot to ask other people to kind of learn the rules and make these complicated characters for a one-shot. And it's just like, I don't know if I see it. So... when we start doing that, there'll of course be a role Mangg for that, because how could there not be? We still don't know really anything about it. I know he said it was going to involve weapons, but I think he's kind of like, I think he's backing down on that a little bit. He's extended, I'm pretty sure, to just objects now. Just you have to have some sort of special object linked to your character that's important to him. And so I said, I'm pretty sure I said back then that I was going to play a Minotaur Avenger of the Raven Queen who used, like, the Kirkhammer from Bloodborne. And I think I'm changing my mind on that. I think I'm no longer going to be a Minotaur. Because what I really love to play... and it takes time. It takes time, I think, to really realize what you love to play in D&D. You gotta try a whole bunch of shit. So I think what I really just love to play in D&D is a Scion. I just like to be Professor X, I guess. It's just enjoyable to me. To just mess with other, like, just really mental shit. I just enjoy it. So, I was like, okay, a Scion then. What do I do for a Scion? I don't want to just make Artemis. I played Artemis, I played Orion, I've done all that. Let's do something, you know, the Boy Genius, I've done that. How about something different? And so I don't know what I was thinking about that this came to my head. But I was like, what about a drow? And drow is a subspecies of elf that basically they live in the Underdark, which is basically like the underground. They live underground. They're underground elves. But they're not like dwarves at all. Like, dwarves live in, like, mountains and shit like that. These live, like, underground in pure darkness. And mostly they worship Lolth, the Spider Queen goddess bitch, who we killed in the Artemis campaign by blowing up a mountain. It was glorious. And, it's a very matriarchal society. So the women basically rule everything. Men are just used for, like, reproduction and just for being little bitches. Like, that's what the men are about. And so they're generally evil. Most of them are considered to be evil. And the most famous drow is named... You've probably heard of his name. If you don't know anything... If you know even the smallest amount, you may have heard of his name. And that's Drizzt Do'Urden, I think is pronounced. Something like that. Drizzt. And he is a drow... I think he's 100% drow? I'm pretty sure. Ranger. And I've not read any of the novels or anything like that. Like, I don't claim to be an expert on Drizzt Do'Urden or anything, from what I understand, he's a drow ranger who, like, escaped from the Underdark, and he escaped from the drow, society, and he came to the overworld, to the regular world above the ground. And he's just a hero. He's just the one good, true drow, and he just helps people, but people don't trust him, but he's still good guy, and he's a tortured soul, and blah, 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 blah. And, a lot of people like Drizzt. He's definitely a popular character, but then he also has a lot of detractors who just claim that he's a Mary Sue, and he, just cliche bullshit. But the biggest problem is, for anybody that likes drow, it's very hard to make a drow character that is not just like a male drow character that is not just a Drizzt clone. It's tricky because he's just embodies a lot of stereotypes and cliches and things like that. And so that was the main reason why I've never made a drow character, is just like, how do I make this so it's not just a Drizzt clone? And so I don't think I've cracked the code or anything like that, but I think I've done my best effort here with what I've come up with. And so I don't have a name for the character yet. I'm working on it. I have to look up, like, drow names and shit. But basically, he's going to be a male drow scion who from an early age has displayed his kind of mental abilities that not many other drow possess. He's a very special case, but he's still male. And so, growing up in that kind of society, the matriarchs are obviously going to take advantage of this. And so he's kind of controlled, they put like this mental inhibitor on him that kind of controls all of his mental outbursts and things like that. And so he's basically used as kind of not really like an executioner. Sometimes, I'm not saying he hasn't been forced to kill, but mostly is just like a torturer or an enforcer or something like that. And eventually he witnesses something that it puts him over the edge. Like, he just cannot accept this anymore. And I don't know what, I'm gonna do a whole backstory write-up when it happens. And so he, like, rips off the mental inhibitor, and he just, like, goes ape shit. And he's, like, you know, covered in blood, and he's, like, broken and bruised, but he manages to escape and make it to the surface. And yes, I know, Drizzt. I'm sorry, they have to get to the surface, I'm sorry. And he keeps his mental inhibitor, because if he, at this point in his life, if he doesn't have that on, he's had it on, like, his whole life. So without it on, he just cannot control his powers. Like, it's kind of like Cyclops, like, taking off, you know, the goggles or whatever. It's just, you can't really control it at this point. I'm pretty sure Cyclops eventually at some point can open his eyes and not shoot out beams, but he had to train to do that. It's kind of the same thing. It's just kind of these lashes out that he can't control. So he keeps the inhibitor on, and that's his special object that's linked with him. And so he goes to the surface, and he decides, as like a personal thing, that he's not going to be, you know, people hate Drow, obviously, you know. Again, this is Drizzt-esque. He doesn't want to be like, you know, he wants to fight for the side of good instead of evil, so on and so forth. But his particular brand of justice is perhaps a bit stern, you know, because he's had not a good upbringing. He's only really known violence his entire life. And so, you know, it's going to be like 2 eyes for an eye make the whole world blind, you know. It's going to be like that. It's not going to be tit for tat. It's going to be, I'll fucking kill you. You know, it's going to be way too extreme for what needs to be done. So there's a bit of ovum in that, I guess, as well. But there's no religious fervor behind what my Drow character is going to do. It's just going to be... It's going to be good, yes. But it's going to be like the Punisher, you know. It's going to be like, yeah, he's vigilante, he's arguably doing justice, but do these people deserve the kind of justice, you know, something like that. And so if I told this story to Ziggy, and I guess he allowed it. I suppose we didn't really discuss it too much. But for somebody, I mean, I'm an experienced player at this point. I'm not gonna just fuck around. For somebody like Matt, if somebody like Matt came to a DM with a story like this, you'd be a little worried, because just like you could just take off this mental inhibitor at any point and just go apeshit and kill everything. And I mean, that's kind of what I'm implying, but that's not something that I would ever do. You know, as a player, I'm not really ever gonna take off that thing. It's more of a plot device for the DM. You know, it's not a kill everything button for me. I mean, I'm an experienced enough player, and I care enough about the story and the campaign to not pull bullshit like that. So it's more of a plot device for the DM than anything. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting, because it's a Drow, and it's not something I've ever played. I mean, I've played a half-orc, of course, so I've played with some kind of prejudices and just, oh, look, he's evil, but that's a half-orc, you know, there's still some human there. A Drow is pretty recognizable, so he's gonna be hooded for much of his time. And it'll be interesting. I mean, I just like playing a Scion. That's kind of it. And this is very much a very different Scion than something like Artemis or Orion. I mean, this guy is not dumb. but he's not boy genius or anything like that. He just happens to have this gift or this curse, depending on who you're asking. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It's just, I love the idea of the Kirk hammer and, having a weapon like that. But when it comes to just playing like a warrior or a paladin or, something like that, or a thief, just a very basic character like that, it just kind of bores me a little bit. Maybe in some other system, perhaps, but 4th edition especially focuses a lot on combat. And that's not a bad thing. I like 4th edition combat, but I like it when I'm using, well, a Scion. I like that kind of style. So we'll see how that goes. That won't be for another month, but that's my current character concept.
What now, you piece of filth?
Yeah, piece of filth, wild dog. Okay, so that's role manging. What else? We've talked like half an hour so far. We haven't even gotten to board games. For board games, there wasn't a whole lot this week. Well, I guess there was a little bit. Friday? Yeah, Friday. No, what did I play? Okay, well, I don't know about specific days, but I know what I've played this week. I played some more Castles. I think that was last night we played some Castles of Mad King Ludwig. Still an okay game. Not a whole lot of interaction. Just kind of sitting. You're just kind of sitting around waiting for you to buy something, and then you place it, and then it's just like, all right, I need to place something more, and you just keep going. I mean, I guess it's as well designed as a castle building game as you're gonna get, but it's just kind of, there's not many games like that, so. It's kind of like two-dimensional Legos, but there's like a game around it. I guess. It's a bit more than that. That would be very dry, but there's a bit more than that. It's alright. It's not anything I'm really gonna clamor to play ever, but if somebody else wants to play it, sure. We also played a whole bunch of Tales of the Arabian Nights. So I had a couple of friends, so there were 3 of us. And I think Tales of the Arabian Nights is the best 3-player game that I own. And I think it ranks up there as one of the best 3-player games, period. Unless you don't like Tales of the Arabian Nights, in which case it's not good for anybody. But I had a couple of friends, and they came over a couple times, so we played it. And, man, those 2 of those games went on just for hours. Hours! Like, the first time I played with them, I think it took 3.5 hours. The other game, I think maybe 2.5, something like that. But very long. But it went by so quickly. It wasn't just like, oh my god, we're still playing, It was just, you just kind of sit there and you're like, wow, it's 3 a.m. And it's not something you're going to play every night. They just happened to, really enjoy it the first night, and so the second night it was the 3 of us again, and we're like, oh, let's play more Tales. It's not something you're going to play every night. You're going to bust out once in a while, and you're going to have a good time. If you don't care about winning. Like, we all just kind of just had fun with it. It was humorous. I mean, you still kind of play to win, I guess. You don't just be like, well, I guess. We didn't just fuck around. You still are trying to eventually win. But it's just an entertaining experience. Like, my friend, he got, like, shit on by hundreds of birds while praying to Allah, and I got gonorrhea from a slave, and I was a vizier, and he wanted me to, like, spy on another vizier, and it was just like, what is going on? Like, there's so many it's impressive. It's an impressive accomplishment that they've put this all together. Like, that's undeniable. I can't imagine how much work they put into it. And I think the 2009 version's like a reprint, a redoing or something of the original. But it's still, either way, it's impressive. It's something that I think should be in a lot of board game collections, but it's not something you're just gonna bust out repeatedly. We also played Seven Wonders, just the base game, no expansions. That was good. And I read some strategy analysis about that game. There's more to it than I really thought about. Like, people have compiled info about like how many ore cards there, how many wood cards there are in the game, how many cards give each thing, and how many cards need certain things, and what you should really go for. And there's some deep strategy in that game that you don't really think about when you start. Just a very well designed game all around. I'm looking forward to playing with expansions. We also played some more Coup, which is always a classic. I backed the new version of Coup, Rebellion, I think it's called, which is a re-theming of Coup Guatemala 1925 or something like that. Which is basically Coup, but there's like 25 different roles instead of 5 different roles, so it's just craziness. So that's good. And then today we played another game of Cthulhu Wars, because Ziggy really wanted to try it. I made the same damn mistake as my first game. I expanded way too quickly, way too early, way too immensely. The first game, I still managed to pull it off. I still managed to win because nobody knew what they were doing. And so people just kind of floundered for too long, and I could hold on and finally clutch the victory. But this time I was playing with one of the people who played the first time. He knew what was going on, and so he basically just cock-blocked me at every turn while I was trying to get going. So my second turn, things went great. I shot ahead. I had all the power. Everything was great. I had my night gaunts out there, which, night gaunts. And he was scared of me because I could just abduct things. It was great. But then he started to concentrate his efforts, and I was spread way too thin, and I just got crushed. And so I stalled out at like just a shitty engine. I just couldn't keep it going. I was spread way too thin. I had no defenses. I had no monsters on the board, and I very, very foolishly brought out Nyarlathotep when I definitely should have. Which is really one of the great parts of the game, is that kind of the whole aspect where you need power to do anything. In Risk, you just move around, whatever. You're like, oh, I'm going to move this here, move this here, move this here. But in Cthulhu Wars, you need power to move. You need power to battle. You need power to summon. You need power for everything. And so if you run out of power before everybody else, you are a sitting duck. You can't do jack shit. And so that's exactly what happened. I summoned Nyarlathotep by using most of my power to get, him on the board and get a spell book. And then I ran out of power before everybody else, and they just kind of ran train on all my undefended shit. And I couldn't bring it together, and so Great Cthulhu ended up winning because he was the only other person who had played the game before, and I was out of contention, basically. And then we played a game. We had like an hour left, and so they wanted to play something new. And so an hour is not a long time for 4 people with what I had, and I don't want to bust out like Carcassonne or a party game or something like that. So I was like, all right, something new. How about Dragon's Gold, which I had mentioned way back. Never got around to it. Dragon's Gold is for 3 to 6. Or 2 to 6. Who's going to play that with 2 players? Come on. In which case, you basically kill a bunch of dragons, which is really easy. You just play cards on dragons. It's really simple. And then you have 1 minute for everyone involved in the killing of the dragon to divvy up the loot. So you negotiate openly about this loot. And it's great. I really enjoyed it. I tied for winning. So, it's not like I won. It was great. I guess technically I won, and it's great. But it's like pure negotiation, It's just, and it's not like Chinatown's like Chinatown's pure negotiation, I guess. But it's not pure, really. Because there's, well, kind of. Anyways. It's just, there's the loot. It's all on the table. We all know what we want. But then, if multiple people want the same thing, it's like, shit. And if you can't come to an agreement within a minute, nobody gets anything. Nobody. And so if you're sitting there and you're just like, I want this and this, and they're like, okay. And then the other two people are just like dicking around like, no, I want this. You don't get, no, this is mine. It's just like, you fuckers agree on something. And so we didn't really have too many moments like that with the four of us, but it was just really entertaining. The game doesn't take too long, and the rules are very damn simple. Like, I pretty much just explained it to you. It's just kind of the loot is there's multiple different types of loot. Like, you know, the silver is just there, you know, it's a silver piece, it's worth it's worth 1 point at the end. Gold is worth 3 points at the end, boom boom. Then there's 5 different types of colored gems, and for every set of 5 you get like 5 points. And then whoever has the most of each type gets like 10 points at the end. So you want the most of each type as well. And then there's a red gem, and if you have a wizard involved, when you get a red gem, you get a magic object. So you want to have a wizard there, and if you have a wizard there, you definitely want to get the red gem. And then there's 1 black gem, which is worth 19 points, but then you don't get any of the color gems points at the end. So there's just like different people want different things, but then if there's 1 red gem and you have there's 2 wizards there, it's just like, who gets the red gem? Come to an agreement! God damn it! Ah! It's great. It's really fun. It's really fun. I'll have to bust that out some more. It's entertaining. I think anybody can understand it. I went straight to the advanced rules because I didn't fuck around with the basic rules, and I don't think there was an issue. Ooh. So yeah, I'll bust that out some more. That's entertaining for just a negotiation game. And I think that's pretty much all the board gaming I did. I got in Summoner Wars Alliances, which is kind of the new box set for Summoner Wars that comes with, you know, everything you need to play for 2 people. And then I ordered like an extra premium board so I can play with up to 4 people. And I don't know when I'm going to do that, but I really want to. It seems like just a really well put together game. It's kind of like Mage Wars Lite, you know? Where it's just you have a deck of cards, and the decks are kind of pre-built. I think you can build your own. And then you put cards on the board, and those are your units, and you have a summoner that's on the board. And then you can, like, if you kill enemy units, they go into your magic pile, and then you can discard your own cards, and they go in your magic pile, and you need cards from the magic pile to summon new cards, and so everything is just cards. Kind of like Mage Wars. But it's Mage Wars Lite. It takes like 45 minutes and doesn't give you a headache. So, yeah, I want to play that sometime. But I want to play a lot of shit all the time, so it doesn't really mean anything. Alright, I had a 100% legitimate George Costanza moment this weekend. Pure Costanza. We went to that board game bar that I mentioned a while back. That I was kind of hesitant upon, because why would I go to a place to play their games when I spend thousands of dollars on my own games? And so we finally went, a group of 4 of us. And this place is kind of in, I wouldn't say ghetto. It's not a ghetto, but it's a dirtier part of Wisconsin. I'll say that. It's not a respectable area. Even though Ziggy just moved there, but he moved to like a nice little pocket of of this town. This place is known for kind of scuzzy people, so it's not in a great part of the state. And like the building itself looked just, oh god, it did not look good from the outside. It had like 5 parking spots, and then everything else was just park on the street, go screw yourself. So it's like, alright, well, they're off to a great start, I guess. And we go in, and it's, well, first of all, I was like, you can just walk in. Like, I 100% expected a cover charge of some type. And I was like, okay, you can just walk in, so I guess there was... And I was like, you know, there's just people playing board games. Well, they weren't playing board games. Let me clarify that. They were not playing board games, and I'll get to that in a second. Well, there were people sitting around at all the tables and drinking and stuff like that. And, like, nobody, like, assisted us. We just kind of went up to the bar, and I was like, okay, so how do they get money for people playing the game? Where does that come in? And Ziggy just ordered a drink, and it was just like, okay, they don't have any, like, you know, no signs or anything directing anybody about anything, so I don't know what's going on. And, well, let me talk about I'll get to the Costanza moment. That's kind of, I'm building up towards that, don't worry. The interior of this place was very, well,
Looks like
for one, it was well lit, which it had to be. If that place was not well lit, people would just walk right out. Well, some people, like me. How can you run a board game anything without being well lit? So luckily it was well lit, but it was well lit in an industrial sense, which kind of sums up the whole theme of the place. It was very industrial. This place was not warm and inviting to walk into. It felt like a warehouse, kind of. You know, you had just bright lights, high ceiling, and everything was like stone or metal. There was not, I don't know if there was any wood in the entire place. Except for me. But I'll get to that. There was just stone walls, metal countertops for the bar, metal stools, metal tables, and, oh yes, metal chairs at every table without any padding. None. And I know I'm a pretty big guy. I know. I accept it. But pretty much every chair that I've ever sat in has been, it's fine, whatever. But the chairs that they had, it actually felt like a tight fit, somewhat. That's never happened ever before. So I don't think it's me suddenly growing bigger. Except a little bit. But I'll talk about, anyways. But no padding. That's like, and I'm not like some prissy queen or something. Like, I need comfort 100% of the time. What is this? I demand padding. But it's just like, whose decision was that? That's like the cheapest thing I've ever heard. You're going to run a place, an establishment, where people come in and sit down for hours to play games. And you have the cheapest metal chairs I've ever encountered. Like, you're not even going to have, like, you can get folding chairs that have padding on it. We own them. How cheap can you be? It just astounded me. And then metal tables. Metal tables as well. Just small, square metal tables. We could barely fit 7 Wonders on it. Barely. There was, like, no room for any beverages or anything like that. It was just fit the game on there and then go screw yourself. And I just, like, whose decision-making was involved here? This is terrible. They had some larger tables that were all occupied because they just, like, this guy brought 7 of his friends to sit around and play Cards Against Humanity. But, damn.
What now, you piece of filth?
And the decor. I will describe it as it had a veneer of faux nerddom, which is interesting that that even exists. Now, let me just say that, 10, 20 years ago or something like this, a board game bar would never have existed. It just wouldn't be a thing. So, it's something to say that in today's society we can have something like this, and it will be frequented by people. But there's like, I don't want to really go into definitions or semantics or anything about the word nerd, or geeky or anything like that. I guess, I consider myself pretty heavily invested in being a board gamer at this point, which is surprising because a year ago I wouldn't have been, but here I am. And I consider myself interested in nerdy, geeky things somewhat, I suppose. I mean, I like video games. I like The Flash. I'm interested in astrophysics. Things like that. I'm not a jock, I guess. Not to say a jock can't be interested in The Flash and astrophysics and blah, blah, blah. Anyways. But there's this kind of culture around, I'm just going to say it, everybody that really watches and enjoys Big Bang Theory. It's those people. It's those people. And yes, I may be insulting one or two of you. Don't feel too bad. I did watch Big Bang Theory for a little while, and then I realized that it's really only insulting me. But it's that kind of faux nerddom where it's like, yeah, I like board games. I played Cards Against Humanity, and I watched The Walking Dead, and Big Bang Theory. Because that's basically everything that we encountered. There was a gigantic, huge, cloth poster, I don't even know how to describe it, of The Walking Dead. It was like the famous shot or whatever of Rick, which I think is his name, riding into Atlanta or whatever on his horse while all the cars are just sitting there. It was just this huge cloth poster thing, mural, I don't know, it was just hanging there. It was, clear as day. Everybody, as soon as you walked in, you saw it. And they had all the, the houses from Game of Thrones, the little banners hanging from the ceiling. And they had, all sorts of, little signs. There was one sign I saw that was I am Sherlock, from Sherlock. And, just kind of all these, oh, this seems nerdy, let's put this up. And I guess I don't know what I'm really criticizing here. Because it's if I was to run... Well, I guess if I was to run a nerd-themed board game bar, although mine would be, of course, a cafe, because a bar, it wouldn't need to try so hard. Why does it need to try so hard? Why do you need... this place was filled. There was not a square foot of that interior that did not have some sort of nerd-themed sign, object, poster, anything. It was filled with everything you could imagine. Star Wars, Star Trek, everything was just covered everywhere. It was just look at us! We support all this stuff! We're nerdy! Mine would just be wood-themed. And there would just be, fireplaces. And that would be it. Why do you need to put it out there so hard? I didn't get it. You were trying too hard to come off as, look at us, we like The Walking Dead, we like Sherlock, we like The Big Bang Theory. It was just, there was something just kind of, it was unnecessary. I mean, I know you want to decorate your place, but why does it need to be so ostentatious? But I guess. I mean, they had a display case that had all sorts of video game and movie weapons and stuff like that. They had a replica portal gun and a gravity gun. They had a lightsaber. They had a little Mjolnir and stuff like that. And it's I can't deny that a replica portal gun is something cool. You know, it's cool to see. So fine. And there was a bartender there, a male bartender, probably in his 40s or something like that. And he seemed like a guy that really wanted to just be hip. Like he just, I'm hip. I'm like you kids. I'm cool. And so he asked me, he's like, you know, he was bartending. I was standing there. So he's like, what about you? And I'm like, oh, I'm good. Because that's my usual line. You know, I'm good. And he's just like, the look of incredulousness on his face was just astounding. He's like, what? You're good. You don't have any booze in your hand. And I'm like, that's true. Very observant of you. And he's like, how can one be good without alcohol? And in my head, I'm thinking, you're running a nerd-themed board game bar. And you're going to be surprised when you have one guy come in here that doesn't drink alcohol. And you're going to, like, chew him out for it? This is how you get new customers to stick around? But out loud, I said, well, it's a very zen state of mind. But it was just like, what a douche.
Him? But we've no... Please.
Like, this place just opened up, like, a month ago.
Let him go. Oh, Black One shut... Do what you want. Oh, we...
This place just opened up like a month ago, and... You know, they have an uphill battle. They have very much an uphill battle. They're in a skeezy part of town that doesn't look good from the outside, and they're trying something that doesn't get attempted too often, and they're not doing a great job of it. With shitty chairs and small metal tables. So, don't chew out your customers, man, even though I didn't spend a single cent there, but that's besides the point. We're running on time, so I'm gonna wrap things up here. So the board game selection there, they had one huge wall that was filled with all the classics, as they called it. I'm putting my quotation marks so close to the microphone you can probably hear them. This was your Monopolies, your Lifes, your Risks, so on and so forth. And I swear to God, I swear to you, on my mother's grave, even though she's still alive, that there was a group of 4 frat guys at a table. They grabbed the box for Sorry. And they were so excited about it. Unironically. And they sat there and played Sorry. That's where we're at right now. They were like, oh, Sorry, yeah! And they sat there and played a full game of Sorry. And for some people, maybe you don't even know what Sorry is. Sorry is worse than Monopoly. Sorry is like the Special Olympics of board games. That may be offensive as well, but Sorry is real shit. Nobody, that's like, it's similar to Candyland. It's a children's game. And I don't care who says otherwise. It is. There's no strategy anywhere near that game. Strategy wouldn't touch that game with a 10-foot pole. So, right, that was like one of the first things I saw, was these 4 frat guys getting pumped up about Sorry, and I was like, good God. So yeah, they had a whole wall full of the classics, which we pointed and laughed at and then turned away. And then they had another wall that was more of the kind of designer board games. And their collection was kind of strange, to be somewhat honest. I mean, obviously, at this point, I recognized almost all the games that they had in that section. They had Coup, and they had 7 Wonders, as that's what we played there. But they also had, like, King of Tokyo, with all the expansions. They had Dominion, the big box of Dominion. They had Alhambra, they had Carcassonne. So they have that kind of classics. Although I don't know if I saw Ticket to Ride, which is interesting. they had Munchkin, of course, which they put not near the classics, even though it's shit like the classics. No, I can't say that. I haven't played it. Whoa! That was one of the more badass things that's happened. But then they also had, like, Firefly, the board game. Which, if you don't know, is a rather intensive, like, lengthy game. And then they had Battlestar Galactica in one of the expansions. And they had Spartacus in the expansion. They had, like, some really, like, lengthy, heavier games. I think they had Power Grid as well. And it's just like, who is sitting down at this place in these chairs and playing Battlestar Galactica for 4 hours? Like, I just can't see it happening. That would be horrible. But they had it there, and I guess nobody went anywhere near this section. I think I saw the Dominion big box somewhere out on an empty table, but nobody was there. So maybe somebody had played it at some point, but
Ought to just destroy it.
we did not see anybody playing anything. We were the only ones playing like a modern board game. People were playing just random like party trivia games. That was it. Like Balderdash or some shit like that. That was it. That was all we saw. They also had ping pong table, darts, pool. They had a DDR machine and skee ball. But yeah, there's room for improvement. So let me finally get to the Costanza moment then, since I'm sure that's what you've been curious about. As soon as I walked in, like, I want to say like the first person I locked eyes with was this waitress. Of course. Why are you so surprised? And I very quickly became quite enamored with her because, well, you know why. She was short, pale skin, red hair, a Daredevil shirt on. Yes. And so, you know, I mentioned her a couple times to my buddies. And she came over to our table to get some glasses and, you know, ask if we needed anything, blah, blah, blah. And so I nudged one of my friends. And I'm like, you're not going to say that you're wearing the same shirt as her? Because he had like a flannel shirt on and she had pretty much the same flannel shirt on over her Daredevil shirt. So you're not even going to say anything? And you both have red hair. And, and he's like, I'm getting to it. And so he like went to the bathroom a little later. Some of you may have already guessed the Costanza moment that I'm talking about. But he went to the bathroom a little bit later, and so I was talking to my other friend about it. And he's like, yeah, you know, she's like a female version of Thomas. You know, my other friend. And I stared at him. And, like, my mouth hanging open. I just stared at him. I'm like, what? Why would you say something like that? And he's just like, what? And I had to sit there and explain to him that I was, like, interested in her as well. Like, for some reason he didn't catch on to that. And that it was not a good thing for him to describe her as a female version of my other friend. And he's like, oh shit. I thought you were trying to, you know, hook him up with her. I'm like, why would I do that? I'm single as well. He's like, fuck. Shit. And so, yeah, she's now known as Female Thomas. Which, you know, obviously I'm still interested. It's just more awkward now. And so that was my 100% Costanza moment. Because the same thing happened to him where he was dating a girl. And then I think Kramer said she looked like a female version of Jerry. It was just like, damn, that's not something you say to a guy. I mean, they don't really look anything alike. But how would you... I mean, on the show, obviously, it was glaring. It was just they happen to have the same shirt, pale skin, and red hair, which is more similarities than a lot of people, I guess. But it was funny. I can laugh about it. So I'm willing to go back to that place just for that. Because you know. I asked one of the cooks there is a friend of ours that we've known for a while. So I asked him if we can bring our own games. He's like, whatever. So I'm like, damn straight. You don't got Cosmic Encounter here. Because why would they ever have Cosmic Encounter? But why would they have Spartacus? I don't know. With the expansion. That was like the most surprising thing. They had the expansion for Spartacus. Crazy shit. Yeah. So I think that's gonna actually wrap it up for this episode. I've talked plenty. We've shared some laughs. Talked about some stuff. So yeah, expect more Witcher. Expect more Invisible Ink probably. That's all I can really tell you to expect. I really do want to get a Duelist video out there. At least me opening booster packs and talking about it. Booster pack. Yeah. And again, to remind everyone, let me know all the feedback about the whole Mangcast issue. Vote in the straw poll, even though I'm sure you've already done so while listening to me. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. But my name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. I'll see you fine folks next week.